you are watching me from. You are welcome to this Sunday's afternoon or evening broadcast. All right. Thanks for those. Thanks for yesterday. A good response yesterday on the live video we did yesterday on breakthrough diabetics, and I hope we're going to have the same audience today in terms of number of people that watch the program. So keep watching the program, and hopefully we discuss more. There are two topics I want to discuss this morning, in fact, because I don't know which is it. I got a lot of questions. People want me to discuss what is reversing diabetes in revision. I got a lot of questions. In fact, I got one email that said, please, can you do a topic on diabetes remission? And then on this topic I want to discuss now, triggered fingers in diabetics. So I don't know which is which. I should be the first topic to discuss, but I'm going to see how I'm going to discuss the two topics today. If there is more time, I only have an hour on this program. If there is more time, I'm going to do remission, diabetes in remission, as the second topic on this video. If I don't have time, then I'm going to schedule it for next weekend. But today, on this, I'm going to start with triggered fingers. There's something we call triggered fingers in diabetics, or should I say, what do you understand about diabetics leading to triggered fingers? So we're going to be discussing that on this particular video. All right, I'm going to just wait some few minutes so that everybody can come on board, and then we'll start discussing it. Mercy, you're welcome. All right. Fashion, you're welcome joining the program. So the topic for this video is, what do you understand about diabetics and triggered fingers? Okay, so we're going to discuss more about that. It is prevalent. You see it mostly in people that are living with diabetics in terms of the older age. Okay, so let's see what happened on today's topic. Edgar, you're welcome. So I'm streaming on all the platforms on YouTube. You can find me streaming on YouTube. You can also find me streaming on TikTok and also on Facebook. All right, this is where I'm streaming on all those platforms. So you can watch me for any of those platforms. And please, if this is your first time coming across the page, if you have not yet subscribed to my page, kindly subscribe to my page. It costs you nothing to join the page. So anytime I go live or I post any content, you'll be able to receive it first. And then also try to share the video and also give us a thumbs up if you like the content of this production. So we're going to be discussing about triggered fingers for those that are living with diabetics. One more thing, if my audio is not clear, please let me know. If my audio is not clear, let me know on the comment section to adjust my audio if it is not clear. All right? Aminu, Don joined, Wano joined, Wendy joined. You are all welcome to today's program. We're going to be discussing about triggered fingers in people living with diabetics. All right, then yesterday's topic, those still have questions on yesterday's topic on breakthrough diabetics, you can still ask me questions on breakthrough diabetics. All right, so that is what we're going to be discussing this afternoon or morning or evening, depending on your location. All right, so let's go. What is triggered fingers? When we say as a diabetics, what is triggered fingers for those that are living with diabetics? Or you have a loved one that is living with diabetics, and then maybe this is your first time to hear about triggered fingers. There's something we call triggered fingers. They have to do with your tendons. All right? So they have to do with the tendons and inflammations. Mostly you see it in elderly people that are dealing with diabetics. Okay? So I'm just going to tell you what is triggered fingers. Now, okay, what are the diabetics risks? The blood sugar levels, the symptoms, how to know what are the symptoms that lead to triggered fingers and know how to mitigate against it. So the answer is yes, there's something we call triggered fingers. And this is when the diabetes can lead to it. And that is why I keep emphasizing all the time that if you're a diabetic or you have a loved one dealing with this diabetic issue, the most important thing to do is to make sure you keep your sugar level within the target range. Anytime it creeps above the target range, because it's a problem. If it goes below the target range, because it's a problem. Now, one thing you guys have to understand that the symptoms of low blood sugar level and high blood sugar level are sometimes similar, but there's something different in it. The most important thing is to identify the symptoms and then deal with the underlying cause of those symptoms to get rid of those symptoms. So, diabetes can lead to long-term complications. okay, known as triggered fingers. And what are those triggered fingers? It's as a result of inflammations in the tendons, okay, in your tendons that enable you to flex or bend your fingers. Look, I can bend my fingers. I can twist it anyhow I want to twist it, okay, because my tendons have not been damaged by diabetics. My nerves are still functioning, they are healthy, my blood vessels, there's a blood vessel supplies on my fingers. So now, if you have triggered fingers, okay, it destroys the tendons. It's an inflammation. Okay, sometimes people call it arthritis. So so that's the diagnosis might be wrong. It might not be arthritis, you're having something we call triggered fingers because the tendons have been damaged as an inflammation. So it's due to an inflammation to the tendons, okay, that enable you to flex or bend your fingers and thumb. I can bend my fingers, I can straighten it, I can go sideways. That means I'm okay. But when you have triggered fingers, you won't be able to bend your fingers, you won't be able to move them around, okay? Or sometimes your fingers are going to be bent that you cannot be able to straighten them up because the tendons, there's an inflammation in the tendons due to what? Triggered fingers as a result of uncontrolled diabetics. So mostly you find those things on elderly people, okay? So you see them, sometimes they are complaining, oh, their fingers are very painful. Like I have an elderly parent back home, anytime I go, I used to have to use an oil. There's a traditional oil that I have to use to straighten the fingers, massage it, to relieve the pain, and then to relieve the nerve damages. When it becomes worse, when the nerve has been completely damaged, okay, then it becomes very, very difficult to live with it. The pain is very painful. So sometimes, if you have an elderly one, like a father, a grandfather that are dealing with diabetics, and sometimes you see them complaining about their fingers or their fingers are bent, there's a traditional palm kernel oil we use to straighten them. We massage it, to relieve the pains. So when there's an inflammation in your tendons that enable you to flex or bend your fingers and you're not able to bend your fingers or flex them, then there's an inflammation in your fingers. And that's what we call triggered fingers as a result of uncontrolled diabetics. All right? As a result of what? Uncontrolled diabetics. Okay? It can be painful and at the same time it makes it very difficult to move or strengthen or at the same time use your fingers. That is what we call triggered fingers as a result of uncontrolled diabetics. Okay? As a result of what? Uncontrolled diabetics. Just hold on. I'm going to turn something. I'm going to turn something off. I don't want anybody. Yesterday, people were sending me questions on WhatsApp. I want to turn them off and mute my WhatsApp so that I'll be able to concentrate. Let me apologize. I'm starting early. Okay, I'm way starting early. I'm about 2 hours early because when I posted the time I'm going to be doing this program, I'm 2 hours early. So my apologies for starting early. Okay. Random, I'm okay. How are you? Hi. Ellie, how are you? Ellie YTB, how are you? I think that's on YouTube. Okay. So I'm about 2 hours early because I was supposed to start in the next 2 hours, but I changed the program. I have other things that just came up. Okay. So that is what is referred to as what? Triggered fingers. For those that are joining us now, I'm going to repeat it again and tell you guys what is triggered fingers on those living with diabetics. Now, when you have triggered fingers, it's as a result of inflammation of the tendons. We have a lot of tendons connecting our fingers that allow those fingers to flex. You can flex your fingers, you can bend them and bend them at the thumb. Okay? So when you have inflammation on those tendons, you won't be able to bend your fingers or straighten them. It's very painful. Okay, or you won't be able to use your fingers because of the tendons have been inflamed and they are very painful. Even for you to grab something becomes an impossible. So you won't be able to bend your fingers, straighten them, grab them, use it to grab something. It's going to be very painful because the tendons have been inflamed. Sometimes you misdiagnose as arthritis. It might not be an arthritis, but arthritis also have to do with an inflammation. Okay, we have different type of inflammations. Arthritis. So sometimes we misdiagnose it as an arthritis, not knowing that you have what we call triggered fingers due to as a result of uncontrolled diabetes. So your tendons are inflamed, and one thing when your tendons are inflamed, it means they have expanded beyond the normal limit. That will make it impossible for you to flex your fingers or even bend them or even use it to grab something, and it becomes very painful. As I was saying earlier on, most of these triggered fingers are found in elderly people. Sometimes you find them in young people, but it is less in percentage in terms getting them in younger people than when you become elderly, because in elderly people, that's where we find them, all these triggered fingers, because of uncontrolled diabetes. So what we normally say to patients that are dealing with diabetes is that at all times, okay, try to avoid things that are going to cause you complications of diabetes. If you have an uncontrolled diabetes, the sugar levels are always very high, then you're inviting complication of diabetes. It could be anything. It could be anything. So what worries you as a diabetic is the complications that arise due to uncontrolled sugar levels. Okay, and also minimize your sugar level to go beyond the normal levels. So these are the things you have to be very careful in terms of living with diabetes. All right, in terms of living with diabetes. All right, so now let's keep going. If you have any questions, please post in the comment section. If you have any question, try to put it on the comment sections. All right. Now, people with diabetics who experience this finger stiffness and pain may have a triggered finger. So sometimes you might have a stiffness, you won't be able to bend your fingers, and it's painful, then we call it triggered fingers. Okay? Okay? And this as a result of long-time neglect or long-time ignoring or long-time complications of diabetes. So I always advise everybody, if you're a caregiver, you have a loved one that has a diabetes, living with diabetes, or you are the person living with diabetes, I always advise, when any symptoms that arise due to diabetes, try to get rid of those symptoms. Find the underlying cause of those symptoms to get rid of it. If you have prolonged sugar levels that are high, elevated in your bloodstreams, it's going to cause you a lot of problems in the long run. So allowing sugar levels to rise, keep being high for a period of time, is going to cause series of damages and complications. So long-term complications can lead you to do what? Triggered fingers. It's very easy to understand what triggered fingers are all about. You can notice them in your elderly parents, your uncles or your niece that are elderly. Sometimes we use a traditional palm kernel oil to massage it to relieve those pains and see if it's going to straighten up. Okay, so these are the things. So as a diabetic, sometimes even if you don't have it, try to, when you are sitting down or at work, try to play with your fingers, move them around, okay, because the tendons need to be exercised. Don't allow them to be stiff. Okay, don't allow them to be stiff. I'm going to see. Okay. Yes, that can appear, I said it before, that can appear similar to arthritis. Okay? But in some way, the resemblance is almost the same, because arthritis have to do with inflammations. This also have to do with an inflammation. So sometimes the resemblance might be the same, but it might not be arthritis. We have different type of arthritis. So that's why sometimes you also have to run to your doctor to eliminate certain possibilities to make sure these are trigger fingers or you're suffering arthritis. All right? So it is important to speak to your doctor when you have these symptoms. Okay? Mike, let me hold on, don't be fast, hold on, let me see. No, I disagree with you. That's not arthritis. We have different type of arthritis. Okay? If the pain persistent for a couple of days or hours, because the pain is excruciating. If you're not able to use your hand to grab something, you can't even straighten your hands or even bend it. I advise you to go and see your doctor. He might refer you to a specialist to make sure which is which. They both deal with inflammations. But are you treating arthritis when you have triggered fingers? So you don't want to neglect anything. Always run to your doctor to make sure what is the underlying cause of this stiffness in my finger. Okay? What is the underlying cause? So it is better they find it early and say, okay, you don't have arthritis, this is what you have, and they start treatment. Because continuous neglect of triggered fingers and you are treating arthritis, you're causing more damage, more, because now it becomes prolonged complications of diabetes. And by the time you realize or diagnose it correctly, it's already too late. Okay, it is already too late. So I always advise people, once you have any complication that you are not sure, make sure you visit your doctor to find out or to rule certain things out, which is which. All right? Sometimes your fingers might be coiled. When they are coiled in a coiled position, or they become too painful to move around, that becomes very difficult for you to live everyday activities with your fingers or with your hands. All right? Okay. Let's keep going. Welcome. If your sugar level is above 7 or 120 milligram per deciliter, it is high, if that is what you are asking. If your sugar level is above 7 or 120 milligram per deciliter, it is high. Now, let me just, like what I'm seeing here, you are telling, I'm trying to deviate now because I have to answer your questions and we'll continue. I want to concentrate on trigger fingers. Okay? Now, let me just quickly answer that question. Anytime you eat, when you're taking you're measuring your sugar levels, is it pre-meal or post-meal? If it is pre-meal, you are fasting. If it is post-meal, it means you've just eaten. The reading for post-meal is different from when it is pre-meal, before your breakfast. So post-meal, your sugar level is going to rise beyond 7 millimole per liter, or 120 milligram per deciliter. Now, post-meal, your sugar level is going to rise to about 180 milligram per deciliter. That is post-meal, 2 hours after you finish eating. Your sugar level have to rise to a maximum 180 milligram per deciliter post-meal. That is why you are not going to mention your sugar level till after 2 hours finish eating. You have to wait 2 hours after finishing eating to now test your sugar level. It's going to rise to 180 milligram per deciliter. That's the maximum. And then it start coming down. Now, so 180 milligram per deciliter, depending on the device, the measurement you are using, the equivalent of 180 milligram per deciliter is 10 millimole per liter. So depending on your conversion, which continent you are, we have millimole per liter, we have milligram per deciliter. If you're using milligram per deciliter, it's going to be 180 milligram per deciliter. That's the maximum post-meal. So you have to wait 2 hours after your meal to measure your sugar levels. And it's going to rise up to 180 milligram per deciliter, which is okay. If it's above 180, it becomes a problem. Then the equivalent of 180 milligram per deciliter is 10 millimole per liter. So if post-meal is supposed to rise from 7 to 10, depending on the measurement you're using, either millimole or milligram per deciliter. That's post-meal. So you got to differentiate, is it post-meal or pre-meal? And then, but from what I'm seeing here, you didn't tell me if it's pre-meal or post-meal, but I'm just answering in general. Post-meal is 180/10, pre-meal is supposed to be 7 or below that. All right, so that is it. So I don't want to go away from this. Let's continue where we are. All right, so now you guys know what is trigger fingers. I'm going to repeat it once more, and then we'll start going to the for those that are joining us now. Trigger finger is as a result of inflammations in the tendons that enable you to flex your fingers or bend them, all right? Okay, either you bend them from the middle or from your thumb, okay? It makes you to flex your fingers, okay? Or you bend them this way, or you can bend your thumb, okay? It's as a result of inflammations of the tendon, okay? Okay, now it is not only limit your day-to-day abilities, okay, to use your fingers. It's also painful, all right? It's also painful, and also makes it impossible. Makes it impossible to do certain things by yourself, because if you're not able to grab something, it becomes a problem. Okay? Now the tendons are like rope. If you guys know, the tendons are like rope that move and pull your fingers down into fists. So your tendons are flexible. They are like rope. You're able to bend them, you stretching them and bend them to pull and push. Okay? Now, those tendons enter a very narrow tunnel. Narrow tunnel. They enter into a very narrow tunnel at the base of each finger. Now, this tunnel functions much like a pulley system. Push and pull. So when there's an inflammation, it increases in size. Those pulley system push and pull is not going to be functioning properly because the tendons have inflamed. That is why you have to be treated immediately. Okay? So we tear that tunnel-like system. So if you tear that tunnel-like system, okay, the tendons on your fingers will actually pull away and at the same time bow from your fingers that are not going to be flexed or bent. They become immobile for you to use them all the time. As I said, you find this problem mostly on elderly. For those that have elderly parents at home in the villages, you find them, like if you go and see your grandfather, you see that the fingers are bent and they are not straightforward. They are dealing with diabetics. Okay, so you, from time to time, you just go and give them some little massage. They relax. I like doing it to my dad or my granddad. I just sit down beside him and I just say, "Dad, okay, let me massage your finger." It is very, 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 time to spend with your granddad. You massage their feet, massage their finger, they relax. So that is what is called trigger fingers. I saw some question coming in. I'm going to read it. Just hold on. I'm going to read your questions. Now, one thing you have to understand is, I'm going to answer your question. One thing you have to understand is, not everybody that is diabetic is going to have this complication. Not everybody. There are some diabetic patients that don't even have neuropathic symptoms. They're diabetic, they don't even have neuropathic symptoms. And there are diabetic patients that have neuropathic symptoms. So not everybody, like what we discussed yesterday about the brittle diabetics, not everybody is going to experience brittle diabetics. So your complications differ from individuals to individuals. So if you're lucky, you might not even experience these trigger fingers in your elderly age. It depends how you manage your diabetes right from the beginning to when you get to that stage of being elderly. And that is why it is important, it is very, very important to treat your diabetes very seriously. Even though it's in remission, you have to treat it like diabetics. Don't just stop doing whatever you are doing. So, okay, now my diabetes is in remission, I'm just going to relax. No. You have to keep treating as a diabetes even though it's in remission. Like, at that particular point in time, you might not know what you are doing to yourself in the later stage, in the future, so when you become elderly, because you've trained your body to know how to use things, done things, and it's going to be very easy in the later stage. But if you ignore those things in your early stage of diabetes, and then you go into the early stages of elderly, like in the 60s, 70s, it becomes very hard. Now, your bodies cannot also withhold those complications. Okay? Cannot hold those complications. Let me see what is going on here. Wow, 82 new messages. I have 82 new messages. How am I going to read them? All right. I'm going to answer your question now. Just hold on. I'm trying to do something. Brian, you're welcome. How are you? why I can't see my. I don't know why I can't see my questions on the screen. I have to go into the listing to read it. That's giving me a headache. Okay, let's go to the second question. There's a question that comes in now. Let me go to the second question. Okay, this is the question. Let's go to the second question. Why are people with diabetics more at risk of triggered fingers? That's the question. Why are people with diabetics more at risk of triggered fingers? From my intro, most of you can answer it. Why are people Hold on. I have to answer this. I have to just relax. I'm going to send it now. Just hold on. I'm going to send it. I'll be right with just hold on. I'm sending it across. I'm using the other listing to send it. All right. I've sent it, check, I've sent it. I've sent it, so that is out of the way. So the question this person is asking me now is, why are people with diabetes at more risk, more at risk of triggered finger? I believe you guys can answer that question. All right, why are they at more risk? Okay, now this triggered fingers, Mohammed, I'm answering your question. Okay, why are people with diabetes have a higher risk? I'm just trying to rephrase the question of getting these triggered fingers. One, it is common in elderly people, with at least a small percentage in young people. One, they are common in people living with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Okay? They are common in people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Okay, so if you have type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes, you are more likely to have triggered fingers either in the early stage or later on in your elderly stage. Okay, but I've seen them more in the elderly stage for those that have triggered fingers. Okay, now let's push that aside. Now, people with diabetes are more likely to develop this condition, okay, than those who catch what? Diabetics. If you don't have diabetics, okay, the risk of you having triggered fingers is less than those that are living with diabetics. Now, one thing you guys have to understand with diabetic individuals, there are certain illnesses that have been lying dormant in your body for years upon years, decade upon decade. Until you die, they will not come up. They are not harmful, but they are there, just sitting in one corner. But once you become diabetic, Diabetes goes to trigger all those illnesses to come up. So every day you are suffering from one condition, you treat this one, another one comes up, you treat this one. That is what diabetes does. Diabetes goes and cause issues, health issues on your system. They move around. And that is why you must make sure you control your sugar level at all times. Because when your sugar levels are high, that is when diabetes goes to start looking for trouble for you. They go and wake up that illness that has been in your body for 20 years that is unharmful, and then all of a sudden it comes up. You treat that one, it goes to another one again. So that is why doctors are going to tell you at all times to make sure that your sugar levels are level at all times to avoid those complications. So these are the things you have to pass through if you're a diabetic. Okay, but if you're not a diabetic, there's the risk of you having triggered fingers are what? Low than when you are diabetic. All right? Am I speaking to somebody? All right. Now, the risk is correlated with the number of years for people that live with diabetes and for those that are not living with diabetes. All right? Now, let's look about it in terms of men and women. Excuse me. Now, women at birth may be more likely than men to develop trigger fingers. Women at birth. Somebody. Excuse me. So women at birth are more likely to develop triggered fingers than men. And then triggered fingers are more likely to come up within the range of 40s and 50s, but can also develop earlier than that. So you start having your complications, these triggered fingers, as soon as you start on between the age of 40 and 50s, that's when you start seeing those triggered fingers. Sometimes they come up early before the age of 40. Okay, before the age of 40. Now, the order of the fingers most commonly affected in the ring finger is the thumb. The thumb, the middle finger, okay, which is the point index, and then the pink finger. These are the areas that these triggered fingers affect. It affects your thumb, okay, it affects the middle finger, which is the pointer, okay, and then the pinky finger. Yeah, I'm going to answer your question. I have 92 questions lining up here, so I'm just going. Now it's 92 questions lining up here, so I'm going to take them one by one. Yeah, I've seen your question, but I'm going to take it one by one. Okay? I'll answer your question. I've seen it. If your question is marked private, that means you're telling me not to discuss it live here, so I have to inbox you, because I'm seeing it say private here. So the question I just answered, your questions, why are people with diabetes more at risk of triggered fingers? And I just listed those that are at risk. The possibility for you to get it. Hold on. I'm going to send it your question, because you mark it private. I'm going to send it I'm going to inbox you on your profile. Check it on your profile. Once you don't want me to discuss it publicly, I'm not going to discuss it. You mark it private, so I'm sending it now. Just hold on. All right. Check your inbox. Check your inbox. Okay, let me go back to my question. Okay, apart, sorry about that. That's what I get every day. Okay, now, if you're not a diabetic, if you are not a diabetic, that does not mean you can't get trigger fingers. But people with diabetes are more likely in terms of getting it than those who are not diabetics. But why I say people that are not diabetics might also get it, maybe you have other health issues that is not diabetic, then your risk of getting trigger fingers will also arise. Okay? Okay? So even though you are not a diabetic, okay, there's possibility for you to have the trigger fingers is going to be there. And what do I mean by that? You might have other underlying health issues that can trigger you to have trigger fingers even though you're not diabetic. So if you have rheumatoid arthritis, for instance, if you have rheumatoid arthritis, it can also make you to have trigger fingers. If you have any renal disease can also cause, when we talk about renal disease, you know what renal disease is? It's going to cause you to have trigger fingers, okay? You have amyloidosis. Amyloidosis can also cause you to have trigger fingers. And we have something called hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism can also cause you to have renal fingers. Carpal tunnel syndrome, okay? CTS. Carpal tunnel syndromes can also cause you to have trigger fingers. So these are some underlying health issues that are not diabetes that can also cause you to do what? Have triggered fingers. All right? So it is important, if you're a diabetic now, be physically active. Treat your diabetes very seriously and be physically active. You might be young now, in your 40s, 50s, 30s. Okay, the way you train your body to handle diabetes, you're going to better off when you're in the 60s, 70s, because you've already trained your body, okay, very well to live with diabetes. Okay, don't wait till when you are 70. Now, when you are 70, you see some people when they are 70s, 60s, 70s, and they are suffering diabetes, it's like they're going to pass on the next day because they did not take their diabetes treatment very seriously in the 40s, 50s. All right, that is why you have to be physically active and take your treatment very seriously, so that in your 60s, 70s, this trigger finger issue, you might even experience it. Not everybody is going to experience these trigger fingers. Not everybody. But if you're unfortunate to have it, then you have to deal with it. These are part of the complications of diabetes. We're going to look at the symptoms of how to find out or know when you have a trigger fingers and start treating it immediately. Okay, TikTok, you're quiet. All right, I'm only getting questions. So let's go to the next question. All right, I say carpal tunnel syndromes can also cause you to have triggered fingers. I know you guys, somebody wants me to discuss about remission, diabetes in remission. I don't know how I'm going to do this because I have to try to I know somebody will, you guys, I'm trying to squeeze, because most people that watch yesterday want me to discuss if it is possible to reverse type 2 diabetics. And I'm going to just, let me finish trigger fingers, just give me 10 minutes, let me finish it, because I want to discuss the symptoms and then we'll change the topic to diabetes if it is reversible. Okay? I have about how many questions here? About 2, 3, there are about 92 questions here, but I'm going to do what I can do. Okay, the next question is, does high blood sugar increases your risk? Definitely yes. If you have a high blood sugar level, it's going to increase your risk. That's hyperglycemia. You shouldn't have high blood sugar levels in your system. It's going to cause a lot of damage, especially your nerves. Okay, so If you have constant, prolonged high blood sugar levels, yes, not only does it's going to cause you to have triggered fingers, it's going to also affect other areas of your body. Now, when your blood sugars and your A1C level are high, okay, along with the length of time you have lived with diabetics, okay, as the main risk indicator of developing these triggered fingers. One thing you have to concern is your blood sugar levels, one, and your A1C level. The numbers are different. When your sugar levels are going high, your A1C level have to be trending in the same direction. You can't have your sugar level trending high and your A1C level trending downward. No, both goes parallel, trending in the same direction. But if your A1C level is what doctors use to monitor how you are responding to treatment to see if your sugar levels are coming down. Your measurement of your sugar levels is an indicator where your sugar level is at that particular time, or you're experiencing symptoms. But A1C level gives an average 3 months of your treatment plan to see how you are responding, if there's any modification in your treatment, okay, and the doctors are now going to see with record evaluation, okay, you are doing properly very well, you don't need this medication, or we're going to improve your, add more medication, or we're going to reduce the dosage. So we use A1C level to monitor your sugar, your treatment plan for diabetes. Your daily measurement of sugar level is an indicator where your sugar level is at a particular point in time due to a symptom that you're experiencing. Okay? So when your sugar levels are high and your A1C level are high, trending in the same direction, you are at high risk of having these triggered fingers. So yes, the answer is yes, high blood sugar level is going to cause you to have triggered fingers. All right? So, so that is why you have to make sure you have healthy what? Sugar levels, because that's going to help you a lot. That's going to help you a lot. All right? Hold on, let me see. There's a question on Facebook. Let me go to Facebook. I don't know. I can't see my questions on the screen here. Yesterday, I can see my question on the screen. Today, I'm not seeing them, so I have to go on the laptop, but I see there's a question that pop up. Esther, how are you? You're welcome. So, yes, I've answered that question. Does high blood sugar level increase your risk of having triggered fingers? Yes. For those that are joining us now, okay, you can, if you, the topic today is diabetics, understanding diabetes and triggered fingers. So if you don't understand, I have done the definition, but if you go on the comment section on the Facebook, on my Facebook in the comment section, you could see it there on the comment sections what triggered finger is for you to catch up. So you can go to the comment sections on the Facebook, I paste it there for you to read what triggered fingers is. And then the question that I'm answering, I also put it there so that those that are joining us can catch up. All right, so let's go to the next question. And then, so let's talk, we're going to look at what are the symptoms of triggered fingers. What are the symptoms of what? Triggered fingers. That's what we're going to look at now. What are the symptoms? So what are the symptoms? We're going to be discussing what are the symptoms of what? We're going to be discussing what are the symptoms of triggered fingers. So let's look at what are the symptoms of triggered fingers. Okay? Let's look at the symptoms of triggered fingers. Asna has equalized now. As I'm watching Arsenal, I was hoping that Arsenal is going to lose, but now they've equalized, so we don't know what we're talking about. All right, sorry about that. Who is Arsenal fan here? Okay. For those with diabetes, okay, trigger fingers have symptoms, same as they would for those that are suffering with diabetes or with other conditions. Now, the symptoms can range in severity and how they develop. The symptoms can range in severity and how they develop. Remember what I told you guys about trigger fingers is very painful. If you have an elderly parent at home, or a granddad or a grandmom, especially when you go to the village, you see their fingers bend, not straightforward, so they cannot even straighten them up. I've seen that in my family, my granddad. So every time I go to the village, that's one thing I love to do. I just sit down. Remember, no matter how big you are, when you see your granddad, you are still a child. It doesn't matter how good you are, how old you are. Once you see your granddad, you are still a child. So I always like, there's a traditional palm kernel oil. I just sit down there, take as much time. That's also part of spending time with your granddad. Try to massage the fingers, straighten them up, and they enjoy it. They enjoy it. And once you are doing, you see them slip off. They enjoy it when your grandson or the granddaughter sit down there and then massaging those fingers, try to straighten them up, and the feet and the toes. Okay, they like it. So most of them were not able to flex their fingers or bend them because of the inflammation of the tendons. So the symptoms depends on the range in severity, okay, and how they develop. But there are common characteristics that include some of these symptoms we are going to look at. Okay, now how do you catch the signs of trigger fingers in one or many fingers, or that is critical in preventing it from worsening or requiring surgery? There could be some time that we require surgery when the pain becomes so severe that we require surgery to straighten them, because remember, you are dealing with tendons, and tendons are like rope. If the blood is not flowing in those areas, they become your mobility in your hands become hindered. So sometimes when they become very, very painful, you require surgery to correct it. So let's look at the symptoms of trigger fingers. Is a clicking noise or snapping sound when you move that finger. So when you move that finger, okay, you hear a clicking sound or a clicking noise or a snapping sound when you try to move it. That's one symptom. Okay, that is one symptom. So there's a clicking noise or a snapping sound when you try to move that particular finger. That's one symptom of trigger finger. Okay, I feel like drinking tea now or coffee. Now, the second symptom is that finger may get stuck in a curled position. Sometimes you see an elderly parent, his fingers are bent or they are curled. They can't even straighten them up. There's a limit they can straighten them up. So they are curled, they get stuck in a curled positions. Okay? So when they get stuck in a curled position, you can't just push it up. It might cause more problem. So forcing you to physically unbend it. So when they remain in that uncurled positions, you can't bend it, you can't strengthen them up. Okay? They just remain there. And it's very, very painful because your mobility in your hands are hindered. You won't be able to do anything with those fingers. Now, the third one is that any degree of stiffness, okay, or inability to bend or flex your finger become normal. Okay? When the degree of stiffness or inability to flex that finger become normal, because There's nothing you can do. They get stored there in the core positions. You can't flex them, you can't bend them, they remain there. Okay? Now, there is the fourth one is that there is a consistent soreness, okay, or ache at the base of your finger or thumb. There is a persistent soreness or ache in the base of your thumb or finger. In the base of your thumb or finger. Okay? The consistency of those soreness are rampant. Now, after that, you start experiencing the next symptom is a slump, a small lump or bump at the base of your finger or thumb. You see a bump, a lump or a bump in the base of a finger. Okay? All right? Yeah, I'm going to share those symptoms for you. I'm going to share them for you guys to know what it is. Now, we have swollen fingers. When you have swollen fingers, remember I say it's due to an inflammation. Okay? Then we have the stiffening knuckles and joints. Your knuckles and joints become stiffening. They become hard, immovable. Okay? Now, your finger or your hand may move all together. Instead of one moving, then everything moves at the same time. And then you experience pain when trying to move or use the finger or the thumb. These are some of the symptoms of symptoms of what? Triggered finger. I'm going to share it with you guys. And I'm going to touch a little bit on the if type 2 diabetes is reversible. And as some people want me to discuss it. It's almost an hour now. Let's see what I can do. I've posted it there on the comment section so you can read it at your own pace. Okay, we are clocking almost an hour here. I'm going to use the remaining, because this is where I want to get to, the symptoms. The treatment is there. I'm going to do the treatment in another video. I just want to use about the remaining minutes I have here to talk about if type 2 diabetes is reversible. So I'm going to use, because I got a lot of questions yesterday that please talk more on if the type 2 diabetes is reversible. Okay? What am I going to say? Like yesterday, I touched a little bit on it. What is reversible and what is not reversible. So I'm going to use just the remaining few minutes to talk about. Maybe I have to do another video. So maybe next weekend I'm going to do another video to discuss more on this if type 2 diabetes is reversible. Now, what I was trying to say yesterday is that when type 2 diabetes is reversible, it has to do with a lot of work. You have to put a lot of work to get your type 2 diabetes reversed. Now, one thing you also have to understand, when we say type 2 diabetes is reversed or is in remission, most of you take it as it is cured. You are no more diabetic. That is wrong. notion to understand. I've said it several times, diabetes is not curable. Diabetes is not what? Curable. Once you become diabetic, it's for life. But one thing we are lucky is that it is treatable and you can live a normal life with diabetes. But it takes a lot of work and guts for you to send your diabetes into remission. But when it's in remission does not mean you are cured. You are still a diabetic. So you have to still be doing those things you are doing as a diabetic. Okay? You have to still be doing them as a diabetic. So don't say, oh, doctor say, oh, your diabetes is in remission. You went home and say, okay, I'm done, I'm okay, I don't need to do anything more. You go back partying, eating those kinds of food. Within a week, your sugar level is going to go back. The remission, yes, does not mean it's cured. What you've succeeded in doing is to reverse your sugar level to be within the target range. And when we say it is reversed, it's not just reversed for 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month. It has to be consistent all through. Okay? It has to be consistent all through. When you have reversed, the doctor will have a record, at least 2 years, minimum is 2 years, to see your sugar level remain constant in a target, normal target for 2 years for you to say you are medically, your diabetes is medically reversed. Okay? Reversed. So doctors have to see 2-year record, not just 1 month. They say, no, they have to see 2-year record consistency, that your sugar level still remains the same, to say you are officially in remission. And then maybe they'll say, you know what, you don't need to be on medication anymore, just keep doing what you are doing. But they'll still be monitoring your sugar level. That is what it means. It is. Arsenal have scored again. That's 2-1. That's what I hate. Wow. That is what I hate. All right. So that is what I hate. All right. So that is what it means that diabetes is reversed. Okay. So treatment can cause type 2 diabetes to go into remission. But remission does not mean that the diabetes has gone away. It doesn't mean that the diabetes has gone away. So you have to understand that clearly. I'm going to bring out time to discuss this issue more because my time is almost done. I only have 2 minutes more to round up. I'm going to make out time to discuss this issue again. All right? Meanwhile, if you have not yet subscribed to my page, kindly do so. All right? Subscribe to my page, and then so that anytime I go live or have a new content, you'll be notified. I'm kind of famished now. I need to find something to eat. All right? So at this time, I'm going to say to you guys that are watching me from all the platforms, I'm going to make our time during the week to discuss this remission, diabetes in remission. Okay? So, in the meantime, if you like this content, please do not forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up. All right? Do not forget so do not forget to share the videos. All right? I don't like why Arsenal win this match. I thought they were going to lose this match, so I'm not happy. That wasn't the whole situation. All right. So I want to say to you guys, enjoy your Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening. All right, or morning, depending where you are watching from. Hopefully to see you guys. Let me see, before I go, let me make sure there's no any question on Facebook, because I can't see them on my screen. So just hold on and confirm I got everything covered. Yeah, I'm not seeing any question here. So I'm covered, so that's good. Um, so that's good. So what we are going to do now is that I'm going to make our time sometime this week. This week we are in, either during the week, if I during the week or weekend to discuss this remission in type 2 diabetics. I was not able to squeeze it in here. So please, let's try to wait till when I have time, and then I try to squeeze it in. Okay? So meanwhile, I say thank you guys for watching, being with me this afternoon, and hopefully to see you guys shortly. Keep watching, keep sharing, and also thumbs up on this video. Thank you, and then I'm going to sign out. Stay blessed. Bye-bye. Let me see. Right.